Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. I stream every day on Twitch TV, and I also make fun little videos here on YouTube. Something that I want to showcase is why you should be putting down traps so early and Don't Starve Together. As you essentially can see, if I put down this trap near this little rabbit hole, potentially we might be able to catch this rabbit and eventually, as we travel around our world, come back to something that can eventually feed us. So let's wait for dusk in order to see if this rabbit decides to fall into our trap, and then I kind of talk about the rest as to why I like to do this. This is not something that I do in every one of my worlds, but I do sometimes recommend it as it's a little bit something that people tend to forget. Now, you might be sitting there going, well, rabbits are not the best type of food, so why would you do that? Well, of course you're right. I always tend to worry about like other things like killing spiders and getting a bunch of filler late game, but early game, it could really save you. I've commented before on how to catch rabbits, but let's talk about why you should be doing this early game, as this is another early game trick to basically walking around the entire map. So let's talk about that. If you join into a world, your first most likely thing to do is actually by walking around the edges of the world. But the thing is, you want to be able to come back to food. Yes, there's carrots, and yes, there's multiple different ways of eating, multiple different things, but sometimes it's nice to just come back to something that you can essentially turn into a crock pot, into something a little bit better and bigger. And that's going to be more fulfilling later on if you decide to cook it up properly. For example, turning it into like a, not a meaty stew, but maybe a meatball, or maybe just one of the new recipes. Anyways, let's just talk about why it's a good thing to do it early on. Putting down a trap early on as you decide to walk around, and then you come back to your default location here, will essentially probably, or more than likely, warrant you an actual rabbit or two. And this is something that I usually like to do. And then I rinse and repeat if I decide to go on another adventure. Rabbits are not that filling and Don't Starve Together, but they're also not that bad. Now that rabbit stew got invented and actually brought into Don't Starve Together, it seems to be pretty good for a beginner type of food, as it heals you a little bit, it gives you a little bit of sanity, and it gives you a little bit of hunger. It's almost like an introductory food now. So instead of one morsel and 3 filler giving you what it used to before, now 1 morsel and 3 filler tend to give you either a meatball or a bunny stew, or rabbit stew, depending on what kind of filler you actually put into it. But let's not talk about that. I want to focus on why it's important to actually make yourself a little bit of rabbit hole traps. And I usually like to use them for what they are, because these traps are not only good for, just rabbits, but they're also good for plenty of other things like spiders and everything else. Not to mention, as I showed in my previous videos, where you can actually use the traps to showcase multiple different things in the area. For example, if you find an interesting fairy ring where the little mushrooms are around, you can put that there to indicate it on your map that you need to go back to that location. The traps are good all year round and can be used in multiple different instances. And if you decide that you want to catch a bunch of different rabbits, well, guess what? Now you can turn them into actually something for the winter, which will keep you nice and toasty, which is none other than the rabbit earmuffs requiring 2 rabbits. So, not only will you be able to eat them, but you can use them for different types of recipes too. So, like I said, something good to keep, just in case you decide to wander around the map. And as I've just been messing around here and we decide to wake up in the morning, chances are I'm going to catch 1 or 2 rabbits without even having to try much. So it's a good little strat to do if you decide that you actually want to do it. I'm not saying that you need to do this, as it's not really something that I do in every one of my worlds, but sometimes I forget that how easy it is to actually go ahead and trap a little rabbit and come back and make yourself a little bit of dinner. And that being said, go ahead and decide if you want to do this, because I think it's pretty fun. And like I said, traps give you 8 uses, and they're very easy to basically reset now. So if I decide to go, it's now going to be morning time, let's go ahead and extend the morning, and I come back in and the rabbits decide to come out, well, I might end up be able to catch a rabbit or 2, like I said, and come back and have a little snack. And there we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.